A majority of games fall into obscurity mere weeks after release. No Man's Sky was just as hyped up as PalWorld is right now, and you can see the stats on its release cycle. Other notable examples include Skyrim and Elden Ring, which were both masterpieces, but simply don't have as many players today. Only 3 games spring to mind for me as timeless classics that may never die in the future: Minecraft, Pokemon, and League of Legends. And the funny thing is that they're all timeless classics for very different reasons. That being said, there are some threads that join them together. I'm going to discuss all of that today to try and figure out why PalWorld is going to fail and what we can do to fix that. PalWorld doesn't share the fundamental concept that make these games timeless, but it's actually extremely close. There's really only one thing that it needs to really make it just as good as Minecraft. The closest reference to PalWorld is actually Ark Survival Evolved. This has many of the same core features outside of the individualized PAL creatures, obviously. However, Ark has way more depth. Ark Survival Evolved hits a general seasonal peak of about 100,000 players every so often, and it is a general concurrent of 40 to 50,000 players outside of the past 2 months. A consistent 50% retention is unheard of in the gaming space, and I do not expect PalWorld to have more than 50,000 concurrent players on average for the next 12 months. I just don't. Other notable examples of games with decent retention after launch include many big co-op titles such as Left 4 Dead 2 and Warframe. Although PalWorld is co-op, it simply doesn't have the same longevity for a variety of reasons. The game that PalWorld strives to be is actually Rust. However, Rust has significantly better sandbox features, which PalWorld needs to fix, among other things. I could bore you with the long list of reasons these games will last the next several decades, but the core theme among them is replayability, and PalWorld just does not have any good replayability yet. Minecraft's procedurally generated worlds and key sandbox elements, Pokemon's competitive scene and frequent release cycle keeps it fresh and interesting in every new generation, and every League of Legends champion out of 160 is extremely difficult to master, and becoming a top player would take any individual years. And I know you think PalWorld is replayable, but that simply isn't true. Even with multiplayer features, you start in the same location, you battle the same bosses, you build the same automated bases, and you capture the exact same pals. It does not actually have replayability. It also has a finite finish point, the same as Elden Ring and Skyrim. Although this is a bit more obscure, once you capture every pal or get every item, you've essentially completed the game. However, modding is the big solution here, and that's for a few key reasons. It can make PalWorld way bigger than Minecraft ever was, and it's a dream for millions of gamers all over the world. With community input, you can have an infinite roster of pals at your disposal. This is literally the dream. Now, it's hard to pull off because you don't want really crappy designs to make their way into this entire ecosystem, but it is the dream for creature collecting games. You can extend the base building limitations infinitely in the same way that Tekkit does for Minecraft. You can turn the PalWorld environment into a sprawling, procedurally generated world. These 3 things will make PalWorld so incredible and give it that core aspect of replayability. Imagine a game where you could travel across a grand MMO, capturing pals you've never seen before because they were made 12 hours ago. Every time you turn a corner, there's a new mountain, a new creature, and your base is always expanding and never at full capacity. Everyone on the world is building castles, dungeons, everything you can imagine. Then there is the case of PvP. A competitive scene in a 1v1 third-person shooter game is a no-brainer, enabled for 2v2 and even built for Battle Royale, all really solid options for PalWorld moving forward. But do I think they can pull it off? Honestly, I am unconvinced. Their team is very small, and we can even see mention from the creator himself that PalWorld was a one-off miracle in some ways. We've also seen that they built Craftopia many years ago and really didn't give it any dev support after the creation. So is it going to be different for PalWorld? Now, obviously, PalWorld saw a different level of success and has generated insane amounts of revenue, but their team is small and they've got to fix all of the issues PalWorld already has before they can start building out new features and adding new kinds of pals. The other problem is that they've locked themselves into their current world. You can't just go from an existing setup world straight to a procedurally generated one. It doesn't really work like that. You would almost have to start from scratch with your future worlds. The other side of things is there's no uniqueness to their assets. Even though their art style is similar to Fortnite, that's definitely not what I'm referring to here. Their game looks just like every other game because I would assume that many of the assets in the game are Megascan assets from Unreal Engine, which would explain how they managed to build the game so quickly. This means that all the next games in the next 5 to 10 years will all start looking really, really similar, and unless PalWorld does something to separate itself visually, it will have the similar appeal to everyone else. So the minute someone makes a copycat that has their own graphics, their own assets, and better unique creatures, I don't think PalWorld is going to survive in the long term. That being said, if community modding comes in really hard and fast, it can build up to such a behemoth, such as Minecraft and other platforms of that nature, that it will do really well in the long term. But unless I see proof of that, or really concrete, consistent proof of that, I don't know if that's going to happen. The other thing is, for them to build a game of this caliber so quickly, they likely also cut some corners in terms of tech debt and bloat. For anyone who's unfamiliar with coding, if you code things and make, let's say, spaghetti code out of it, that means that the minute you hire 10, 20 more people, expand your team to 100, they're going to come in and they're not going to be able to understand the code base at all. You're going to have to rip a lot of it out and start over, which is going to set back the team so much on providing these updated features that the community needs to thrive for the next decade. All that being said, PalWorld was a miracle. What's not to say the next 5 years of development in PalWorld is also a miracle. I do actually expect them to achieve the Holy Grail one day, which is Minecraft with creatures that anyone can make and add into the game on a whim. But as I've explained in this video, it is going to be quite the challenge. Do you guys think PalWorld can do it? Please leave a comment down below if you think PalWorld is going to manage it. Do you think they're going to die off in 2024 or 2025? And I can't see them having high concurrent players in 2024. I'm going to be honest with you. But in 2025 and 2026, I think they're going to do incredible things and do what No Man's Sky did 3-4 years after its initial release. They added all the upgrades, did everything, and then they're going to add a whole new range of pals. All of a sudden, people are going to flock back to the game, and it's going to be another overnight success.